the stars of the show. So thanks to all of you for being here, all of you for what you've done. So this is sort of my first time talking as the executive director of CFP. And I can't tell you how excited I am and grateful I am to have this job. And it's been a month. I retired from the Air Force 1 month ago after 38 years in the Air Force. So thank you. And this is where I landed. It's incredible. And it was kind of funny when I got the job. My wife was like, "How'd you get that job?" And I was like, "Come on, honey. I mean, you know." She said, "Well, I didn't mean to hurt you, but why'd they pick you?" And I was like, I don't know, but I know why I took the job. And I took the job because I am a lifelong college football fan. I played football at the Air Force Academy for 4 years, and frankly, this is an opportunity for me to get up every morning and do something that I'm passionate about, and to think about something that has meaning to me. And when I think about my own, what college football did to me, for me, the first thing is that it opened doors for me that would have never been open. And for 98% of our players, our athletes, they're not going to go play pro football. But it's opening doors for education, for experiences, doors that will change their lives. And this playoff is going to take that even to another level. I know I wouldn't have gone to the Air Force Academy if it wasn't football. Kent Hatfield was the coach who came to our living room, talked to my mom, told me to come out and visit. She said, "He's such a nice man. It's a free trip. Go out there." A little bit I know would change my life. Here I am 38 years later. Field was at my retirement just a month ago. And so are so many of my teammates, but the people that I've been exposed to, the things that college football did for me, life-changing. But it also helped me develop as a leader, helped to develop my character as a man. And for our athletes, this is probably the most important thing they're going to get, because we all know football is a microcosm of life. And whatever they're going to do in life, the lessons that they learn on the field are going to mean everything to them. Douglas MacArthur, one of my favorite quotes, "On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that on other fields, on other days, will bear the fruits of victory." And what he's saying is, you learn things in football or other sports that you can't learn anywhere else. And I'll tell you this, having flown in combat, when you're sitting in your cockpit and you're looking out in front of you over Iraq and you're seeing anti-aircraft artillery, surface-to-air missiles flying, you look at that and you go, okay, it's game time. We practiced for this, we prepared for this, now it's time to go. And you press and you lead your four-ship into the breach. But it is just like, although the stakes are a little bit different, when you go out there with your team on that field and you look across the line and you got some giant offensive lineman in front of you and you're like, what are we going to do here? But whatever it is, we're ready for it. We practiced for it. It's time to go. And every combat mission I ever flown after the fact, I always look back and I go, man, I am thankful for my experiences in college football. But then as a fan, I've been a college football fan for pretty much my whole life. I'm 60 years old, and I have always loved college football. Because I was a player, I think gave it extra special meaning. But the fact is, it's special to our country. It is America, and people love to watch college football. And for me, as far as the gratitude that I have, this is now something that I get to think about every day. For 38 years, I thought about the worst days in America every day. What are we preparing for in the Air Force when that war happens? And we had to be ready for it. We hoped it would never come, but we prepared for it, we thought about it, and we made sure that if it did come, that we were ready. Now, I get to think about something every day that will definitely come, and that is going to be among the best days in America. And that's what this playoff is going to be, among the best days in America. And I get to think about that every day now. And I couldn't be more grateful and excited for this great opportunity. So I want to thank our commissioners, though, because this 12-team playoff, a lot of thought has gone into this, a lot of thought. And it's not just about putting 12 teams on the field. It's about giving access so that we, like so many other sports, can actually play to the championship and actually let the decisions be decided on the field. It is going to be so incredible. And the access, it's going to be into November. Every game is going to matter. People are going to be engaged and ready to see who's going to make it, who's going to get in there. That's exciting. That's exciting. And we haven't had that. This is the biggest change in college football since the forward pass, in my view. I think it's just going to be, no pun intended, a game changer for all of us. And so I am so excited about this playoff. But there's more thought that went into it as well. For example, the commissioners really wanted to honor champions, conference champions. So the top 5 champions, just as a recap, most of you know this, but the top 5 champions will make the bracket. They will get a seed. The top 4 will get a bye, and then the fifth place champion will either be seeded as they were ranked in the top 12, or if they weren't, they will take that 12th position. But the commissioners felt that it was important to honor conference champions, and that's a great, I think, hallmark of the whole playoff. They also were thinking about safety and health of our athletes. One of the things that was important to them after selection weekend in December, they wanted to make sure that there were still a couple of weeks so that players could get their legs up under them, so that they could have that healing moment so that they would be ready to go. And they built a little bit of time in there so that our players could get ready to be at their best and our teams could be at their best when the playoffs started. So that was a great, I think, a great amount of thought that went into that. And then for the fans, one of the things that was really important to them was to not make fans have to travel for all 4 rounds, but that's why we're having the campus games, that first round, so that at least those higher seeded teams, those fans don't have to travel. They're going to play those games right on campus. That's going to be exciting. I mean, those games, some of those games may be the biggest game they ever had on that campus. The fans can be right there, and then they can follow their team on afterwards. But a lot of thought went into this, and I think that the commissioners, the management committee really got it right. And of course, we're going to evolve. We're going to play this round. We're going to make it the absolute best it can be. We're going to make it spectacular. We're going to evaluate it and see what we could do to make it even better for next year. So I'm excited about the way the format has been laid out. I'm excited about what it's going to do for us into the future, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. The other thing that I'm grateful for, the other group that I'm grateful for, is the selection committee. We have 13 members now of the selection committee. They're coaches, former players, athletic directors, journalists, people that know college football, people that understand. And having been selected for this position about almost a year or about 8 months ago, I was able to sit in on the selection committee meetings last year and watch it happen. And any of you who have an opportunity to go to a mock selection committee, you should go, because you will see that this group is committed, they're prepared, they have the integrity to do the right thing, even when it's hard, The discussions that go on in the room are tough but collegial, and I really believe that they're getting it right. And this team, this group is very, very committed to making sure that that top-ranked group, those top 25 teams that they're going to rank, are as close as we could be to having the right teams that go into that bracket for the playoffs. So I'm proud of what the selection committee did last year, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. The other thing that they're going to do is get those teams into the right brackets, because after the selection happens, we still want to honor the bowl alliances that we've had among the conferences over the years, the traditional bowl alliances. So the committee will also have a role in that to make sure that we're still tying and staying tied to those bowl alliances. So the selection committee's got a big role in this, but they're ready, they're prepared, and they have the integrity and the understanding and knowledge of college football to get this right. So very excited about that as well. Another group that is incredibly important is our CFP team. And I want to thank Bill Hancock. He's my predecessor. He's the father of the CFP, but he's the father of so many different things. He has been in college sports for decades, but he's the one that set this up, and he's also the one that built the CFP team right now. And they are absolutely amazing. And even now, they are getting ready. My first visit, my first trip when I started 3 weeks ago was to Atlanta to get ready for the 25 playoff. My second trip was to Miami to start getting ready for the 26 playoff. And then I've started visiting our bowl partners so that we're ready for those quarterfinal and semifinal games. The team is constantly on the go to make sure that these games go without a hitch, that our host teams, the operators, the people that are going to run these games are ready to go. And then probably the newest element in their preparation is going to those campus teams. Those on-campus games is going to be really the new dynamic for the playoff. They've already started working with all of the FBS campuses to make sure that they understand the expectation that if they have the honor and privilege of being selected as a host site for a first-round playoff, that they're ready. And they know what's expected of them. And our team is going to walk with them and be close to them, but making sure that whoever it is, that game goes without a hitch so that we start off the playoff in great fashion. So I want to thank the CFP team and Bill Hancock for really getting us off to a great start and moving us forward. So there's a lot for me to be grateful for, a lot for me to be excited about, and I think you're going to be excited too. This is going to be pretty amazing. And I hope that you will continue to track us as we go, as we march down to that big game in Atlanta this year and the start of the playoff. I'm full of gratitude, I'm full of excitement, and I'm grateful to be a part of an enterprise that did so much for me in my life, and not just my life, but my family's lives. And to have the opportunity to give back is one of the greatest honors I could ask for. So leaving my career in the Air Force and coming now to college football doesn't get any better. So thank you for your time. And Dave, I'll pause there. We have a few minutes for any questions.
Down here. Okay, again, if we have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll get you a handheld microphone, and please stand, state your name and affiliation. We do have a question down here on the right side, second row.
Kenneth Berry, Touchdowns and Tangents Media. In regards to, obviously, let's say a higher ranked seed is obviously going to get in, but there are teams at times who will beat a team in their conference and they're still ranked below that team. How do you kind of handle that in regards to teams essentially maybe even getting left out of the 12? Even though, let's say, they beat the number one ranked team, but they're still ranked like 14th in the nation.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. That's a good question. But honestly, those are the kind of discussions that happen in that selection committee room, because head-to-head competition matters, right? And they see that. It's happened in the season, but it's their job to look at the whole body of work of a team throughout a season as they get those rankings. So even though that head-to-head might have happened, it might have pushed them ahead of a team for a period or for that game anyway. The rest of their season may paint a different story. So that's part of the job of that selection committee, to discern what really is it that makes one team better than another one. So your point's a good one, because head-to-head, it's kind of tough to dispute it sometimes, but that's what they have to do. And that's what makes it so special and important for that selection committee to get it right. So thank you for that question.
All right, we'll go down the center, about 3/4 of the way back on the aisle.
Adam Gadavy, Western Kansas Broadcast Center. Should a team in a Power 4 conference that plays 9 conference games and has like a 9 or 10 win season get a bid over a team maybe that plays only 8 conference games and maybe an 8-4, 9-3 record?
Well, again, thank you, Adam. The things that the selection committee is going to look at, like strength of schedule, where they are within the conference, their standings, those things are going to matter. But the equation is not set in stone, right? Exactly what matters more and what doesn't, those are the kinds of things that that selection committee has to talk about. And they really have to look at. And what I'll say is there is an enormous amount of data that they're able to look at and have at their fingertips. But they also, that eye test is critically important to them. They have the iPads that allow them to look at games throughout the week or throughout the weekend so that they come in prepared and ready to go. But again, you bring up sort of like Kenneth did, those are some of the tough issues that that selection committee has to deal with and work through. But that's what they do best. And when you hear the discussions in the room, those are the kinds of questions that they're talking about and they're wrestling with. But in the end, I believe that they have a good enough understanding and the integrity to get those kind of things right. So thank you for that, Adam.
All right, we'll go to the far left side, fifth row.
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Rich, when you mentioned a few minutes ago that making sure you help campuses get ready to host these 4 games, outside of the quick turnaround, 2 weeks that you're hosting, what does a campus need to host a playoff game that they wouldn't have for an October conference game?
Yeah, that's a great question, Barry. So there's a lot of factors that are going to go into this. Weather is going to be a factor that they're going to have to consider because this game is going to be later in the year, in the winter than they normally were. Hotels are a factor. Do they have the level of hotel that would be expected for a playoff game, and do they have the availability when we need it, right? Practice space, those are the kinds of things that people need to keep in mind. But also, I mean, everything from ticket sales to managing how we distribute the tickets, all those kinds of things have to come into play. It's not a game that they had been planning on for 6 or 8 months. They didn't know that they were going to be there, and it's been dropped on them. So our team has started to put out sort of, I will say, questionnaires to ask people, to ask schools, where do you think you are? What would you need? And we've actually hired some consultants that can go look at some of these schools to help them figure some of these types of issues out. The other thing is we're not gonna just leave them high and dry. Our team is ready to engage. I mean, the day after selection, we're going to start engaging both through video teleconference, but also in person to go and help those teams get ready. Because this is a game, like I said, that they weren't expecting to do. And we all know game ops is tough. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, especially when you only have, like you said, 2 weeks to prepare for it. So a lot of considerations that have to go into that. But we're trying to get ahead of it now so that not just us, but all the other schools, so that when it does come, because it's coming, it's going to happen. And if it happens to you, it's no fail. We got to get it right, especially this year. We got to hit this with a bang. So thank you for that.
Okay, we'll go to the right side, front row.
My name is Arnie Bazemore with Vegas Sports Today. Rich, your background is commendable and impeccable. So thank you for your leadership and your vision that you're bringing to CFP. And my question is, what is your vision for college football playoff the next 3 to 5 years, and how do you plan on putting your fingerprint on that?
No, great question, Artie. I appreciate that. So honestly, my main vision, my main concern is to make this year spectacular. Like we can't muddle into this. We got to hit it with a bang so that people go, okay, this was the right decision. This is what we needed to do. The fans love it. The fans are proud of where we take these playoffs and what they see their teams do that get into the playoffs. But then what we really have to do in good military fashion is after that operation happens, we have to step back and evaluate. And we have to look to see what other changes or what else might we do. As spectacular as it's going to be, we got to keep taking it to the next level, to where people go, this is the best sporting event, the playoff in America. We want to be there. I know there's some people that go, well, I'm going to be better than that game or that event, but we have to be absolutely as good as we can. Our student athletes deserve that. The conferences deserve that. The institutions deserve that, and our fans deserve that. So I wouldn't say that I have a specific vision right now where the playoff goes, because we have to see how this one goes and be able to evaluate really what's next. But I will say we're going to evolve, and we're going to make it better every year and continue to do that, just like we've done with so many other things. But this is important, and it's critical that we have success here. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I will stay in the front row to the right.
Hi, General James Taglianti, White Riot Son. Okay, every time you expand the playoff, you always run into the possible issue of watering down the regular season. 2 years ago, we were in a situation where a missed field goal against Georgia almost made the Ohio State-Michigan game meaningless, because the fact that Michigan beat Ohio State ultimately didn't matter because Ohio State was in position to go to the national championship. Last year, the fact that Oklahoma beat Texas didn't mean anything ultimately because Texas still ends up winning the playoff. Does the College Football Playoff Committee plan on putting a mechanism in place? Is there a mechanism you can put in place to ensure that these rivalry games, which are a huge part of the tradition of college football, remain important and integral in maintaining the importance of the regular season, but also the importance of rivalries, even when you're looking at the playoff?
Yeah, thank you, James. That's so. The points that you brought up are great ones, because that was one of the problems with the 4-team playoff, is that there were limited opportunities. The access wasn't there for people, and like you said, a missed field goal changes everything. I think with the expansion, now that there are 12 teams, the best teams, those margins may change them in their seeding, but it may not knock them out of the playoff. And so this really gives us an opportunity for some margin of error in the teams that actually make it into the playoff. To your point about rivalry games, I do think that even into mid-November and into late November, that every game is going to matter. Every game is going to be important. And so having the 12 teams that can go, there's probably still going to be 20-plus teams that are in the hunt right up to the end. Right up to the very end. So my hope and what I believe, there's going to be those moments, right? Number 13, 14, 15, things are going to happen. And someone's going to get bumped out that maybe otherwise would have made it, but for a field goal or but for some play. But when you're talking about the 12 teams, the 12 best teams, I think this allows for a margin of error in deciding who those 12 teams are to still go in and to fight it out within the playoffs. So does that answer your question? Right.
How do you keep the importance of those games when you end up with 11 teams, 12 now with each number one? They can both make it in the playoff. So that game, which before was everything in the season, now doesn't matter as much. How do you put a mechanism in place to make sure that game is still important?
Well, yeah, well, so the part of his question that I didn't get to was how do you still maintain the importance of those rivalry games? I mean, they're that. They are rivalry games, and they're important for that reason. They'll also have a role in where teams get seeded, who makes the playoffs, who doesn't. So I don't think that any game is going to lose importance all the way to the end of the season. People are still going to have to see where they're going to get seeded. Are they the conference champion? Do they get a number 5 or a number 8? Where are they? Everything is going to matter right up to the end. So those rivalry games will be important because they're a rivalry, but they'll also be important because it's going to determine if they make the playoffs, and if they do, where they get seeded. I think it's all going to be important. I do believe that's the beauty of the 12-team expansion, is that it takes us right up to the end where people are like, okay, what's going to happen here? So, and I also think that, I don't think this is exactly what you were asking, but our commissioners or our selection committee members will have to take all of these kinds of things into account, as it comes, whether it's a rivalry game or not. It's still in their body of work, and it's going to be important in determining where they rack and stack. So, but we'll see how this plays out. It's going to be exciting. Thank you.
All right, that'll conclude this portion with General Clark. Again, I'm sorry some of you still had some questions, but as a reminder, General Clark will be available the rest of the day for you if you need some additional one-on-one time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Hey, I do want to say one last thing. So I did retire a month ago, so now I'm rich. If you're talking to me, you don't have to call me General Clark. I appreciate that respect, Dave, and that's very kind of you. But I literally want to go by Rich. I want to be retired. I want to be in this enterprise now, and calling me Rich is perfectly acceptable and desirable to me. So thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate everybody.
Okay, we'll go ahead and continue on. The next speaker that we have is Matthew Sine, the National Football Foundation Chief Operating Officer.